Can you please rephrase the question, ma'am?
Do you believe that your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
It's the same exact question, so she did not rephrase it. The answer is actually simple.
Do you believe your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
The answer to that question is no. You had one job, sweetheart, one job, and you blew it. The Representative Linda Sanchez from California, of all places, who'd have thunk it, decided during the hearings for weaponization of government, where 3 FBI agents are whistleblowing on the events that they had seen take place and the punishment and retaliation that had gone on to them as a result of their whistleblowing. Linda Sanchez, like all the Democrats on this committee, on this oversight committee, every one of the Democrats had come into this hearing not knowing what the testimony is. We can get into that on a separate video, maybe discuss it Wednesday Night Live. The whistleblowers did not want them to have their testimony in advance. Why? Because being inside the FBI, they know very well handing stuff to Democrats means it's going to leak before the hearing comes about. So without even knowing what was going on, what the testimony was, but knowing the general topic, since it's the weaponization of government hearings, they decided to prepare themselves, horrifically, by the way, as I will demonstrate in a moment, horrifically prepare themselves to attack from all angles possible once the hearing began. Not one part of them was at all concerned about 3 FBI agents coming forth with testimony as whistleblowers to the FBI. These are 3 agents who have stellar careers in government. These are people who have served tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, who have been given medals of valor and top of their employee. One of them was employee of the year for his office, his FBI office. Back in 2019, these are all like top dog and continue to be top dog FBI officials from the standpoint of respect and allegiance to this nation. But the Democrats decided to go in and do everything they can to try and defame these guys, and it ended horribly for them. Horribly. Now, if you're one of the people who are already indoctrinated, you're programmed with them, then you probably look at all of that as brilliant. Every time someone brings up Trump and something that has nothing to do with Trump, brilliant. It's brilliant. That's exactly what I would have said. But for the sane people in this world who think that an oversight committee, without knowing what the testimony even is, would think to themselves that this could be concerning. I am on an oversight committee designed specifically to handle these types of whistleblower events. And instead of them being concerned and wanting to hear more about what exactly went on, each one of them spent their entire 5 minutes bashing, trying to defame, questioning the loyalty to the country. Madness. But none were worse than Linda Sanchez. All right. None. There were some runners-up. But this one, this dingbat doo-doo-doo, came out there and just made a complete butthole of herself. And I want to go through this with you because it matters. So we're gonna walk through this together. Her attack, her blatant like assault even, and it's such a terrible assault they break her over their knee without even trying. Let me just get into this.
And we will restore the 5 minutes for Ms. Sanchez.
I find it incredible that evidence that one side has garnered is not going to be shared with the other side. That is not how committees work.
So what she's talking about there is the Democrats being livid that the whistleblowers would not allow. It was by whistleblower request. This was not the Republicans saying we're not going to give you their testimony in advance. This is them complaining that the whistleblowers they wouldn't testify if they had to give it to them in advance because they know being inside the FBI that doo-doo-doos like this one and her ilk would be leaking that all throughout the media long before, and bashing and coming up with stories and putting their entire machine against these people before they even got a chance to speak at the hearing. So kudos to them for having the heads up to know that. And this little doo-doo, we're going to get into her.
Chairman Jordan, Ranking Member Plaskett, I think it's important that we recognize this hearing for what it actually is. Make no mistake, this hearing is a vehicle to legitimize the events of January 6th and the people who perpetrated it. And why? Because Donald Trump is running for president again.
So that's the beginning, right? They all start, not all of them, but this is a common start for the program, right? Because this woman hasn't heard a word yet. And she hasn't asked a question, I should say. She's heard a little bit of their testimony. She hasn't asked a question. So she just comes out wanting to start off to make sure that all the programmed get all the proper trigger words. January 6th, you've got Donald Trump in there, like just to make sure everybody understands before she says anything that what this is, that this is trigger. Like it's almost like the series Treadstone, if anybody's watching it, where there's this like music tune that they play that like sets them off and activates the program. That's in a lesser sense the purpose of doing this, by the way.
And if you normalize the events of January 6th, if you repeat his election fraud lies, then maybe he doesn't seem quite so extreme. Maybe it will be easier to overturn a free and fair election the next time. For those of you who have forgotten, on January 6th, a mob of people who believed Donald Trump's lie that the 2020 election was stolen stormed the Capitol, seeking to stop the certification of the 2020 presidential election. They erected a gallows on the lawn just outside this room, and they ran through the halls looking to find and hang the Vice President of the United States. It was a shocking moment of political violence, and many of us on this dais, including myself, were there that day. We all felt the fear of knowing that there were people roaming the Capitol looking to kill us.
So no shortage of drama, right? She goes on like this for a little bit. I'm sorry to waterboard you with this part of it, but I know if people on the left or people who are just still programmed, they're going to be like, why did you cut that out? So I want to give her full opportunity to bloviate. But I do want to remind everybody that in the end, all right, and this doesn't go on for too long. She's only got 5 minutes on the floor, but she's about to start hitting him with questions once this bloviating is done. And I guess the point that I want to make here to keep this all in context is that there's only one guy that had anything to do, whose situation where he was retaliated against had anything to do with January 6th whatsoever. No one had anything to do with Trump. But in the end, the one guy was one who was saying that the FBI, there was a situation where they wanted to call, as they've been doing, to call out the full SWAT team, the turrets and the big barricade bashing, vehicles and all this.
I opened the shutters and I just saw one of those huge like Bearcat tactical vehicles that had the battering ram, mounted to the front, and it was pointed right at that window that I cracked the shutters.
And they wanted to do all that to pick up this one guy who had already deemed that he was going to cooperate and would not be an issue. He's the only reference at all in any of the assertions made that are referring to January 6th, but she will spend her entire first portion of her ranting on that. And also notice the demeanor. She has no intention of she's just disrespecting these guys from the second her buttocks sat in that chair. She's just been waiting to start disrespecting these men, and it's disgusting. Not once. If you ever want to see the reaction from someone who's guilty, this is what it is. This is what it is.
But clearly some of us have quickly forgotten that. I've heard my colleagues on the other side of the aisle suggest that, quote, the FBI was participating in the insurrection. They called the rioters who attacked the Capitol, quote unquote, peaceful patriots and quote unquote, political prisoners. And they described the violence on January 6th as akin to a quote unquote, normal tourist visit.
We're singing gospel songs and we're waving flags, and that was the general feeling of the crowd.
People who weren't there can't imagine being in the middle of how many people are there. I mean, when the Bible talks about a sea of people, that's what it was like.
I saw people of all colors, races, creeds, Asian Americans for Trump, blacks for Trump. I even saw a guy wearing a shirt that said fags for Trump. And since I'm from California, I knew that guy. I saw people praying, singing songs, dancing.
And if we will repent and pray, he will hear our prayers.
It didn't look like a riot. It looked like a tailgate party. Most of the people that I saw there were my age or older. They couldn't have been armed to the teeth because their teeth were false.
I said as long as Trump or people stand, the rest of America will stand.
And just look at these domestic terrorists driving their tactical vehicles into battle.
Man, what brings you out here today?
Love of country, God, and Trump. We're all here.
Now, no one, she lied. No one ever described it that way. What was described that way, the reason that description was used was because it was referring to the 99.5 or so % of the people who were at the Capitol that day or in Washington that day protesting. And yes, all of the and there were at least 2 million people there, if not more. You can't get into every side street, but there are panoramic shots that they won't let you see that show up in plenty of documentaries, far and wide, easily passing the 2 million mark, just in massive humanity. All right, but let's let her go.
Not. Last year, the Judiciary Committee even had to entertain a resolution on the repeatedly discredited Ray Earp's conspiracy theory. Mr. Allen, your security clearance was first...
The Ray Earps thing was never discredited. It was denied. There's a difference.
...suspended on January 10th, 2022. Is that correct? Yes or no will suffice. And the FBI's reason behind your suspension...
I want to point this out before she starts getting into these questions. You're going to hear her now start to demand yes or no answers to questions that are completely misphrased. And Mr. Allen here knows, Agent Allen knows, that if he goes ahead and answers it the way that she's asking it, it's going to be taken totally out of context. So he demands that she rephrase the question, and then when she does is ask the question again, the same exact question, no rephrase, and he doesn't give in. Watch him.
Was because it found you to have, quote, espoused conspiratorial views both orally in writing and promoted unreliable information which indicates support for the events of January 6th. Is that correct, yes or no?
That is the language that they placed on the letter.
That's a yes.
Now, that's not a yes, okay? What he's saying is that it's not true, but that is the language that they put into the document, meaning for any rational human being, right? But she's so trying to be right here in an area where she has nothing, that she just shuts him down and says that's a yes, as if there's some measure of authority there. These little stops and breaks where people can break this down are what are missing out of these trials, because they're claiming their time and all this stuff, and they just demand these pigeonhole answers. But she's asking questions. Her question right there was, isn't it true that the very organization that you are whistleblowing on and is coming after you and is trying to destroy your life for whistleblowing on, isn't it true that they accused you of being a conspiracy theorist and being a January 6th sympathizer and this and that? Well, yeah. Is that even hard to believe? That's the most nothing burger, idiotic statement someone can make. That's like saying, I asked Charles Manson if he killed him. Isn't it true, sir, that Charles Manson said he did not kill her? And be like, yes, that's what's written in the report. That's what that is. It's nonsense. It's gibber.
Then, do you believe it's important for federal agents to have allegiance to the United States? Yes or no?
It is absolutely important that personnel
I'll take that as a yes.
have allegiance
Do you
to the United
believe
States.
you should have allegiance to the United States to possess a security clearance? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Do you believe your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes.
This is where it begins. Let's listen to this question again.
Obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
Can you please rephrase the question, ma'am?
Do you believe that your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
It's the same exact question. So she did not rephrase it, and he will not answer it.
I don't know. Can you please rephrase the question again, ma'am?
Do you believe that you have an obligation to serve as a federal agent regardless of what your personal political beliefs are?
Completely different question. So she didn't rephrase it. She absolutely asked an entirely different question. Kudos to Mr. Allen. Do not fall into that bait garbage. The answer to her first question, and let's go back to it, because the answer is actually simple.
Do you believe your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
The answer to that question is no. It should not supersede your First Amendment rights. Nothing supersedes your First Amendment rights. He knows what she's trying to do here. She, I don't think, does. Okay? And the second question she asked was completely different. Completely different. And this, he handled this beautifully.
Can you please rephrase the question, ma'am?
Do you believe your obligation as a federal agent should supersede your First Amendment right? Yes or no?
The answer is no, but he's not giving her that.
I don't know. Can you please rephrase the question again, ma'am?
Do you believe that you have an obligation to serve as a federal agent regardless of what your personal political beliefs are?
Yes, I have an obligation to serve the United States.
That was an easy answer to a completely different question. Yes, of course you have an obligation to be objective and not put your political beliefs above anything else. But that doesn't mean you're giving up your First Amendment right. It does not supersede your First Amendment right. That's a notable distinction that he saw coming, so good for him.
Do you believe that FBI agents should be permitted to express support for individuals who stormed the Capitol on January 6th? Yes or no?
I believe agents have to do their jobs, ma'am.
Do you believe that agents should be permitted to express their support for individuals who stormed the Capitol on January 6th? Yes or no? It's a simple question.
No, you're supposed to be apolitical, ma'am, and do your job
So
as
that
an
is a
FBI
no?
person. You're supposed to be apolitical and do your job.
I'm asking for a simple yes or no.
Can you please rephrase
Not a
the
difficult question. Do you believe that FBI agents should be permitted to express support for individuals who stormed the Capitol on January 6th?
You should not be voicing support for criminal conduct. You have
Okay,
to do
thank
your
you.
job apolitically, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, have you ever used Twitter? Yes or no?
I have utilized Twitter, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
This is going to be golden. This chick, she couldn't, I don't know if she just wants me to get views or she's trying to help the channel. I don't know, but like, this is just amazing. What's about to transpire right here.
And is your account at Marcus A970-50645?
That is absolutely not my account.
Okay, that's not your account.
Next question.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Well, on December 5th, 2022, an account under the name Marcus Allen.
So he tells her this is not his account. She's completely, this is a true dingbat. This woman is just off the rails. She thinks she's got this gotcha moment going on. She goes, it didn't even occur to her when she's pulling up this name, this Marcus Allen. When she pulls up the tag Marcus Allen 0894622 whatever, chances of that being a bot account are like 98%. 98%. Who the hell? That's one of those. When you go to create an account, it's like your name is taken. Well, how about this one? And it adds a bunch of random numbers at the end of your name. But what kills me is that should have been the end of this questioning right there. It's like, no, you've got the wrong account. Whatever doo-doo information you want to throw out there from this point on is nonsense because it's not my account. But no, not for Miss Linda Sanchez. No. She's way too stupid for that. Let's let her try and save herself by still pretending that by quoting literally a random tweet that somehow it has nothing to do with this case. It has nothing to do with what they're saying as whistleblowers. She just literally pulled out some explosive tweet, likely by some bot, and now is wasting everyone's time in making this FBI agent respond to that. Like, that's where this woman's head is. All right, this is what programming is, folks. There was no alternate what if it's not his account. That didn't exist. That wasn't in the programming. So she just continues as if, and even to say from an account with the name Marcus Allen, like, no, you left out the 0896222, whatever the hell those numbers were. And like, stop it. Just stop. If you don't see what this woman is doing, and not to mention this dude is like a super patriot. The guy has served this country with commendation for decades, with absolutely no blemish on his record until he spoke out against the FBI. And instead of that concerning this douche, she comes in full attack mode like he's the enemy.
Retweeted a tweet that said,
That
quote,
is not my account, ma'am.
You haven't let me finish the question, sir.
Might have been the football player.
Because you're asking a question about someone else.
And the time is mine. On December 5th, 2022, an account under the name of Marcus Allen retweeted a tweet that said, quote, Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th, retweet if you agree, end quote. Do you agree with that statement?
Why are you asking him if he agrees with the statement of some doo-doo bot account that you just pulled off of freaking Twitter? And now he's in a serious hearing here, and you're asking him to respond to a tweet that's not from him, and not only is not from him, has nothing to do with what's going on in this hearing. I mean, that's about as relevant as pulling out a tweet that says, I like ham sandwiches, and be like, do you, Mr. Allen, like ham sandwiches? Do you agree with that tweet? That's how relevant what she's doing right now is. At this point, she's embarrassing herself at a level that is just, it's new wave. This is a whole new cliff she's jumping off of here.
Yes or no?
That is, I don't. No, ma'am. That's not my account at all.
I'm asking whether you agree with that statement, yes or no?
Can you please rephrase the statement?
Yeah. Do you think
the gentlelady has expired.
Pelosi staged January 6th? I just want him to answer
He'll answer.
question.
Yeah, he'll answer. I'm just telling you your time's up.
Do you believe that Nancy Pelosi, do you agree with the statement that this person tweeted that Nancy Pelosi staged January 6th? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
So that one left me speechless, guys, and that's why, like, the other clips that I put up, I just put them up on their own because I was kind of like, all right, you know what? These speak for themselves. They don't really need me to interject here. But this one is she is quite possibly, you may have just witnessed the single dumbest person in Congress today. And I know that is tough. I'm sure you could argue that there's a lot of competition, but that is clearly the dumbest. And to come off with that idiotic line of questioning and to do it in a way where you're actually attacking someone who has served this country for decades honorably and is before you, as you are an oversight committee, he is before you, doing nothing but trying to whistleblow on the very agencies that you're supposed to be overseeing on this committee. You had one job, sweetheart, one job, and you blew it. I'm out.
And like that,